I looked at it and said, I don't care about the big contracts. In fact, we don't even want them. We're not looking for them. We don't want them to find us. Let's find everybody else and let's make them the most important customer.
We always had the mentality, if you need 1 or 100 or 1,000 or 10,000, we'll take care of it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Born to Tint Podcast. I'm Ricky, and I'm glad to be here with my big brother, Josh.
What's going on, everybody? Today, we had a really cool conversation with Jordan and Justin with Precision Tube Lasers, local U.S. manufacturer here in Las Vegas. Talked about the state-of-the-art manufacturing equipment they're using to make parts here in America. Check it out.
We had a guy that when we first opened up in this center, he worked with my dad for about 14 years. There was some kind of miscommunication at some point of him taking percentage of the company, which I have no doubt that probably would have happened eventually. But when the time he arose that question, my dad was like, no, I told you I'd pay you like a partner, which he was. But then he's like, all right, you want skin in the game? You want a part? All right, you're paying a portion of the bills then. And then all of a sudden, he was like, no, I'm going to do my own thing. Went off, did his own thing. It took him about a year to come back and be like, yeah, you're right. It's like, it's not easy.
Well, and that's the thing too, you know, do you take the chance of having a revolving door, or do you close it, right? Do you shut it down on people and say, listen, you had the opportunity. If you don't see it, I can't show it to you any more than what I've already have, you know? And we just went through that because we always had a hard no, line in the sand. You leave, that's it. And we brought a guy back recently, and he didn't make it a month and a half before he did the same exact thing.
There you go.
It was like, and he had so much potential. That's the part that's so frustrating when you have somebody who can do the job and truly is a benefit to being there. But man, if they don't see it, there's no getting around that. You can't force somebody to see it.
No, absolutely not. No, we have a guy right now. He's actually here working in the auto department. He worked for us for about 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah, close.
Came straight out of high school, went to 2 different shops. Matter of fact, I think I just sat down, did a podcast with him. Went to 2 other shops. They pretty much told him to pound sand. He's 18 out of high school. And then came to us. And at the time, we were looking to grow. And we were like, I love this attitude. He was extremely hungry. How he was already on YouTube looking at certain channels, and I knew of the people he was watching. And it was like, it just kind of worked. And I was like, all right, yeah, we're gonna give you a chance. Came in, picked it up. And then about, I think, October last year, he had some family things kind of pop up. His dad runs a mobile detailing, had to go help his pops. And then just kind of he stepped away. He gave me the 2 weeks and everything, and did it the right way. Sure. And it was thanked us for the opportunity. And at that time too, we were already selling the material. Cause I tell all my guys, what you do in your free time, I don't care. Just don't touch my customers. Don't let me think you touch my customers, and also don't steal from me. You steal from me, then obviously that's one way, you're gone. Yeah. There's no questions asked. So he went off. He's pretty much kind of doing his own thing, looking to add that to his dad's mobile detail. So we kept the relationship was good, but now we use him as a subcontractor. So he already knows how the shop runs. He knows all the guys within the shop itself. And then even on that podcast, we talked about kind of how it was. And he goes, he didn't anticipate winter being that slow. And it's like, dude, that's the name of the game, man. It's hard. Yeah. But because that relationship stayed so good though, now I get to bring him on, and when we're having this huge influx in the summer and we have all the extra work, we hit him up, hey, you available these days? And he's like, yep. We throw extra cars in those days. He comes in, and the benefit for us business wise, I can just 1099 him. Yeah. So save me on all the extra stuff to where I have my core tenders, and he knows that if anything slows down, I don't owe him nothing. Nothing's promised. I can get you what I can get you. Yeah. You know? So, it worked out for the most part. He's a hard worker, and he's looking to grow. I'm about to run him through the academy actually this Thursday. Nice. And then same thing, use him being able to have a local subcontractor when the work, all of a sudden we land a bunch of jobs. I could reach out to him, and he knows that with flat glass, you can, on the right job, right commercial job, you can make a good amount of money real quick. Yeah. And then I don't got to worry about him being on my payroll after that, which is nice. So,
yeah. And no promises. It's always a good position to be in.
How many guys, because me and Jordan went by and toured the facility. How many people do you guys have on?
So we fluctuate between 25 to 30 employees. So yeah, I know it's up there. But it's one of the things that I learned pretty early in business that I think really helps a lot of startups and businesses that get going is know how big you want to be. I fear having 200 employees, right? And in manufacturing, there's plenty of companies that have that many people. We have no interest in being that big, but it also helps guide your decision making, right? And how you work through, the problems and issues and equipment and scaling and all those things. When this is our range of where we want to be, it makes everything so clear.
Is that the range you guys want to stay at?
I think so. For me, it is. With something drastic would have to change within the workforce, the mentality in the workforce. I think for us to want to push and be a lot bigger than what we are. We've always run really, really lean for the scope and the scale that we're operating at. But I can't just add more people. It's got to make sense. It's got to be the right people. Of course, we're businessmen. We're never going to turn down a great opportunity. We'll make it work. But where we sit currently within the industry, our impact, where we see ourselves in the next, 5 years, I'd say this is probably pretty good. 30 people is where we really want to be.
And you guys started, you guys opened up and started, when did you guys take the deep dive and get that beautiful looking machine?
So the concept of the company started 2 years prior. So we opened in 2018 is when we started. 2 years prior to that, we spent day and night just doing research. We didn't come from the metal industry. We didn't know anything about it. My father and I opened up the business. We're just businessmen by trade. We've had a number of different businesses and helped other businesses grow. So starting a new business or being in that uncomfortable state of, I don't know, we didn't have that fear. Our biggest fear was the financial risk. We really wanted to be in this business for about $1 million to open our doors. And we were closer to 1.6. So we were way over budget. So we were draining the account of all operating expenses very, very quickly. So that put a little bit of strain initially, because when we were opening our doors, we didn't have any customers. We didn't have any contracts. We didn't have anybody that was knocking on our door ready to use our business. We had to go out and teach the world that this was available. And there's companies now that you can get it done easily. So that's kind of where we started. Seems like forever ago, even though it's not.
What inspired the metal? Just like, I mean, it is a very niche thing that you guys went after. But the fact that now I know that I can have something developed and go through and have it produced like that, because what you guys were telling me about, even going through the facility itself, is that there are plenty of big companies that are using these machines, but they have like 1 or 2 contracts, and they're just mass producing the same thing over and over again. Because why produce anything else? Or technically, I would say, create the headache in their eyes of, why am I going to deal with so many other customers when I can just make everything for you? These like Toyota or
when you were in the shop, we had a customer that does a lot of aftermarket off-road stuff for Tacomas and Tundras and things like that. But he's got thousands of different part numbers and SKUs and things like that too. But you kind of touched on, these machines live at OEMs like GM. John Deere, they have these machines. We were the first to bring it to the public for everybody to use. And, whether we always have the mentality, if you need 1 or 100 or 1,000 or 10,000, we'll take care of it. But we know that 1 could turn into 10,000. Right? Yeah. We've seen it.
Yeah, the scaling of companies, which we've done multiple times. But back to your original question about how metal, right?
Yeah.
So where we kind of got into this, prior to us getting into this business, we were racing race cars full time. And so we were building a lot of our own cars. We raced professionally for 15 years. And so we were building a lot of our own cars from scratch. We weren't fabricators. We weren't welders. We knew a lot of them, and we were utilizing them. When I got out of the last business that I was in, I owned 3 rental car companies on the Strip for 10 years, and then went right into metal fabrication. So when I left that, a couple buddies of mine that own a job shop here, they asked me if I would come run their operation. And so I spent 2 years with them really watching their process, what they had. They were a very small shop. They didn't have access to, one, a lot of cash flow. They didn't have a lot of space. They had a couple of items that we could really utilize and really empower and push forward. And so I focused my attention there to grow their business. But while I was doing that, I was watching all the processes and realizing how many shops are in their exact same situation and going, man, what if there was a company that came in that could afford this big equipment that was really built to help small businesses like this? And that's when the light bulb went off for me, is that at that time, I didn't know of any companies that did that. There were companies that you could obviously outsource your parts to, but if there was a bigger fish in the pond, they're going to go first, right? And you're always just get moved to the back. And we know that it happens in almost every business at some point in time. And so that's where we just looked at it differently of, well, what if we came in and we didn't care about the big fish? What if we cared about all the little fish? You know, in manufacturing, let's say there's, $10 billion in the US worth of major contract manufacturing, right? Multiple $1 million contracts. There's probably 50 billion in people that fall below that line. So the amount of money and the resources and the people that you have access to grows exponentially. So from the business sense, I looked at it and said, I don't care about the big contracts. In fact, we don't even want them. We're not looking for them. We don't want them to find us. Let's find everybody else and let's make them the most important customer. And that's really how our business scaled so quickly. Metal manufacturing, we touched on this when you were there. Metal manufacturing has been around for hundreds of years. And there's been very, very few companies that have had impacts locally, meaning in the US and especially globally. And we've somehow become a globally recognized brand within the manufacturing world. And mainly just through the way that we approached it. We just looked at it 180 degrees different than any other company that was out there at the time and said, well, what if we take this route? What if we try this because nobody else is? Yeah. And so when we started our business, we started with a tube laser. At the time, it was the least used type of machine in the industry. And it was the least known as far as accessibility, that people knew that it even existed and that you could get parts laser cut out of tubing material. So, our back was completely against the wall right from the get-go of how are we going to approach this? And it's so funny, our manufacturer, TRUMPF, they're a German company. Their headquarters is here in Connecticut. When we pitched our business plan to them, the CEO at the time read it. He has no reason to see our business plan. He's not making any of those decisions. But he read it and he asked if we would come out there and see him, and said, okay, sure, no problem. So we fly out there, and at the time we were looking for financing. We had money, but we didn't want to spend it all up front. We knew we were getting in pretty deep. And so we sit down in a room with him, and the first words out of his mouth is, we don't finance startups. And we're like, okay, well, you could have told us that from, hundreds of miles away, but he said, I read your business plan. And he goes, to me, it just blew my mind that two people that don't come from this industry, that are going to use the least known service, the least, used equipment, and you're going to build a business out of this, and you're going to do it through social media. And for him, it just blew his mind. He was like, I have to meet the two people that wrote this because I've never seen anything like it. We spoke for about 45 minutes, and by the end of the conversation, he stands up mid-conversation. He says, we're going to leave here with a handshake deal that we're going to get you guys financed. So we were the very first startup company that was ever financed by this manufacturer. So our beginnings of this company, that it was so far out there that it really played into our benefit. One, we were confident that we could do it, but getting other people to come on board that early was really, really difficult. And we were able to make it happen to where we could open our doors and start making this what it is today. So
that had to have been a gigantic boost in confidence when he's saying, well, I think obviously in my eyes, it would take someone not in the industry to sit there and look at it and realize that, like, hold on, all this over here is not being serviced. Because I mean, the obvious is already there for the people that are in it. Is like, I want to get that big contract. I deal with one person or one company and just mass produce over and over again. But to sit there and look at it from the other side, and then even go after the machines that really aren't being used and figure out how to use them and pitch it to everybody else, like, and then the shit, have him call you guys and be like, I want to talk to you guys, and then leave there like that. Like, that's got to be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we knew going into it, it was purely a character meeting. I mean, you know, what we were pitching on paper is insane. It really is. And, you know, we looked at it that way too. You know, we're very, you know, very open-minded, very skeptical of a lot of different things, and as you should be. And, you know, even as we were writing it, we're like, man, that sounds out there. I don't know if anybody's ever going to buy this, right? Not knowing what our past was, not knowing our confidence level. But yeah, it was shocking to leave there with that experience and go, holy shit, like, this is going to happen, you know, and whether we like it or not, we've now lit the fire. And what's funny is, you know, at that time, they had a strict no finance startup policy. And when he took that risk on his own, he was like, we're going to do this. And, you know, of course, now he looks like a genius because he took a risk on us. and the rest, you know, the rest is history. You know, we have almost $10 million worth of equipment in the last 8 years. You know, we're continuing to grow. And yeah, so for him, it's really exciting. And, you know, they're top tier manufacturer. There's nobody better than them. And to start with that equipment, to continue to grow with that equipment, to believe in the process all the way through to get us to this point, has been no less than amazing, right? To stick with that process. You know, Justin was our first employee that came on board. And I mean, he's been in it since day one with us. I mean, we used to play ping pong most of the day because we had no customers, you know, just waiting for the email to go off.
That's fun. So I didn't go on the tour and come check out the facility the other day. So for myself and for anybody listening, what was unique about the business plan, and who is the avatar? Like, what is it that you're making, and where's the demand coming from? Like small businesses that need stuff?
Yeah, so we're considered as a job shop. So we will make anything for any company, whether you're the end user, you're trying to develop a product, or you're another fab shop that just can't afford the equipment. So you need help. You need that boost in production. Gives them the confidence to go out and go sell jobs, even though they don't have to take that expense of owning the equipment. We've already taken that. So then what we can do is provide high quality parts very quickly, very reasonably priced, but also give them the confidence to go sell jobs that are maybe a little bit outside of your comfort zone, and know that we've got your back.
This is mostly in like the custom automotive space, or
anything from enthusiasts, like somebody who just is doing a home project that finds us on Instagram, all the way to space parts and everything in between. So our scope of work is pretty incredible. And some of the names that hit our desk, you know, of companies that are reaching out to us for parts is pretty mind-blowing. You know, that's probably the most humble part, or part that humbles us the most, you know, is you'll be sitting there and all of a sudden there's an email from NASA. And you're like, why would we even be on their radar, right? And same thing with SpaceX and, you know, Ford and, you know,
company,
it blows your mind that, you know, that these companies even know who you are, let alone they're about to push a tremendous amount of business to you.
The other thing is they don't care what it costs. They just need it now.
Yeah.
And they got to find somebody that they can trust to, one, make it correctly, and then get it to them.
Yeah. We have a handful of customers that are like that are just, they're all in from the get-go. Yeah. And, you know, there's a tremendous amount of pressure, but it's because of the way that we built our reputation in the business. You know, our reputation is everything. It means the world to us, and we would never sacrifice our reputation for a single dollar, because it doesn't matter at that point. Our integrity, the quality of work, we do exactly what we say we're going to do when we say we're going to do it. And, you know, we always follow through. And the second something goes awry, we pick up the phone. We call people. We say, hey, things got messed up. whether it's a human being problem, whether it's a machine problem, whether it's a material problem. I think I touched on this when you were there. Our facility state of the art, but our business is very old school. Your handshake, that means everything. Your word, do exactly what you say you're going to do. Pick up the phone, communicate, talk to people. We were talking about the text messages and the emails and how quickly it is to read it and be like, oh, this guy's pissed. And then you'll pick up the phone and they're like, hey, what's going on, man? Yeah, I get it. It happens. And you're like, oh, okay, good. Whew. I was just a little worried there, right? Like, you just never know what you're walking into, but that approach seems to really work, and it builds that rapport and that trust with our customers to want to continue to use us because they know we're no different than anybody else, right? We're just another human being on the other side. I'm just trying to help. Yep. I can't help you if I don't know what you're expecting, and vice versa. I don't know what to do if I don't know what you're really looking for, right? Yep. So we've just kind of taken that approach where a lot of shops, and especially in our industry, have moved away from that and have gotten closer to, all the online quoting, zero touch, zero communication, put it through our multi-million-dollar website and it should spit out a part. Well, it doesn't always work. And what happens when it doesn't work? And where do they go? And how do they communicate that it didn't work? Yep. There's so many facets of it that turn south very quickly. Seems like a great idea on paper, but it's manufacturing. People don't know until they know, right?
Yeah, getting rid of that human aspect is when you find a company that actually is going to be on the other side. And when something does go wrong, them call you and reassure you, hey, obviously this went wrong. We're taking care of it. Like, it's going to get taken care of. That by itself, usually, like, that's the best response. Like, I've had a couple customers recently where it's like, it's almost like I'm almost about to send off a text or I'm going to email. I'm just like, no, I don't want to make this phone call, but it's better off if I do. Call them. And then, yes, there might be a little agitated to begin with, but as soon as you start that conversation with them, instantly just
changes.
It changes in the situation instantly to where it's like, hey, this went wrong. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take care of this. We're going to do this. And then instantly they're as happy as a clam. And then even to the point of like, I'm going to leave you guys the best review. And it's like, I ended up refunding your money and we didn't end up doing the job, but like, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah.
But it's the customer service and the quality. That's the biggest thing that our dad taught us was you got to hold on to those. So your reputation is everything.
Yeah.
The knowing that you are going to take care of the customer. And then it's like anytime if we do get a review that is, any kind of, if it is negative or whatever it is, I usually get alerted instantly. And it's like, I'm reaching out right then. It's like, hey, I just saw that this happened. And then also I'll see the backfill of it, of seeing what went wrong, where it went wrong. And then it gets addressed instantly, and if that even comes down to like, hey, I still want to complete the job for you. Let me complete it. And beyond that, I'm going to refund your money too. Like, I can see exactly where the ball was dropped. It's either me, myself, I dropped it, or even if it's anyone else, it's like, it's still something fell through the crack. We're going to take care of it for you.
Yeah. And we've always been really good about that as well. It's tough. There's no right or wrong way to do business, right? It just comes down to what I was talking about. It's just really just your core morals as a business person, right? And as a business in general, what do you stand for? What are you always going to stand for? And also at the same time, what are you not going to stand for? What are you not going to tolerate? In our business, it's very, very male dominated. Our entire sales staff up front, is women. Well, we get customers that don't want to talk to women. Well, if you don't want to talk to women, you don't do business with us. That's who we trust, right? It goes, the core of it goes all the way back, and you have to truly believe in what you're representing as a business and what you're putting out there. And what's funny is some of those girls know more than we do. They're that sharp. They're that good about what they do because they're doing a different thing than what we're doing. Are they running machines? No. Are they great with the materials and knowing the status of the jobs and where they're at and phone numbers and addresses? Yeah, they got all that stuff. I don't know any of that. Yep. But if you're calling to get a hold of me to ask me about your job, I don't know anything about it. I know where it's at in the shop because I'm dealing with it, but I don't know where it's shipping to. You know what I mean? And we've always had to create that disconnect and that ability to teach our customers to trust the people that you're dealing with, right? And empower them to let them really lead the pack and say, hey, you have to stand your guard here. You have to make sure that customers are doing the process, right? Nobody gets to skip the line here. Nobody gets to just jump around you because they don't want to deal with you. They don't want to deal with you. They don't deal with us, right?
Yeah. How many people call us all the time or call you guys on the phone and just say, hey, I need a quote, and it's like, well, what kind of car, what year, how much material? Do you guys quote over the phone?
Well, cars we do, but like the amount of times, like I'll have people text me that my younger years, maybe I was doing something on the side, which my parents always knew about. I'd buy material for them coming my day off, and it's like, guys, I don't do that no more.
Yeah,
you don't want to know what my price is now.
Yeah.
Like, to get me down here on a Saturday, you don't want to pay that price. I promise. Like, I'd say that's the biggest thing that we're actually doing right now. Is the past about 2 years, we finally get to the point to pull ourselves out of those operations to actually do the business side. Like, he does all the sales, I run the operations. And it's like people will ask for us for certain things, and it's like, I'm the wrong person to be talking to. I promise you. Like, here, fill this form out. I promise you. And this is what I'll tell my close friends that are I know what they're asking. But
you're telling the whole world right now.
Oh, believe me. There's like one or two people. There's still like one or two customers that just because I created such a good relationship with, I have one gentleman, which John, I'm going to say his name, John Nortel. He did like 45 cars in a year with us.
Yeah.
And he openly admits I had a car problem. Like, and he went from, I think I probably did like 4 or 5 4Runners, 10 Tacomas, 10 XBs. And it's just like, it was at a time where the car market was like, he was getting them for such a good deal because he was either working the dealership, and then I would tint it. And then it's like and he'd always at first too want me to tint it because he always looked at me. Yeah. He's like, I want you. And then eventually did get to the point where I told him, like, dude, Brennan's my manager. Like, me and him came up together. We trained together. Like, he knows the expectations of what I expect. And then beyond that, anyone underneath him, he's going to have the last eye on that vehicle. Like, you don't need me anymore. If you're waiting for me to do it, you're going to be waiting like a month or more for me to tint this. Like, I don't have the time no more, man.
That customer that you walked by, we talked about, does all the Tacoma parts. Him and I were like working together all the time, and I was his guy. And then it just eventually got to where I was so busy. And then we brought on just a real wizard of a engineer, designer. And I said, this is your project now. And it took, Derek is his name. And it took him a while to get used to it, but now he only comes to me when there's a problem. But, you got to insulate yourself. We used to have problems not problems, but people would reach out to his cell phone. And I said, we're done with that. The first thing we did is got a Google number. The two of us are sitting in a little office as big as this table, and his phone would ring and be like, hey, this guy needs some parts. Well, you have all the information, man. How do you get this to me? So as a new business, we had a lot of I wouldn't call them growing pains, but just where you got to try something and stick with it, and it'll evolve into anything.
Yep.
Yeah. And back to like your initial question, the automotive side, we do it over the phone, but like for the residential commercial side, we have to go out and do a consultation. Yeah. But people always just give me a price over the phone. Yeah. It's like, sorry, we can't.
It's not that easy.
Yeah. It's like, okay, well, we can schedule a consultation, or you can go find someone else that'll give you a price over the phone.
Yeah. And we're definitely at that point now where it's almost like, yes, they're vetting us to see if we're going to be the company and do work for them. But that goes both ways. Yeah. Like, there's a reason why we're asking for this information, and also why we have to come out to your house. We have to check your window. Windows aren't as simple as just glass. And neither is film. I can't just put any film on a house window or commercial window. There's a good possibility it's going to break if I put the wrong one on there. And if I don't put the right one on, the manufacturer's going to tell me to pound sand. And now I'm on the hook to pay for your window. So that's just not how we operate anymore. Is we have to go out, we have to meter your window. And it's like, I had to tell them, I'm working with my front and letting them know, like, when someone calls in, if you're asking, you start the conversation, who do I have pleasure speaking with? If they're not going to give you their name, they just qualified them as a customer. Unfortunately, that we're just not going to do business with them, because
sets the tone real quick.
Yeah, it's just, if you can't give that simple information to where we're like, hey, we're trying to help you out. What's your problem? Like, hey, we want your name and number. So, hey, if we get disconnected, we can call you back. Sure. And then also we have to set up, especially for commercial and residential. We have to come out. I can't give you, like, if I tell you a price per square foot, that's not going to do much of anything for you, because depending on how you think you should measure the window and technically how we measure the window, one, you're probably going to cost yourself more money by measuring, because we measured exact window, and that's how we price everything off, is the exact window itself.
Yeah.
We'll have there's other people in the industry that will measure it. If it's like, say, a 33 by 58, they say it's a 3 by 5, and they charge for that.
Right.
We don't necessarily do that. So it's a different way. I mean, I would say almost, if anything, probably our square footage price, everything gets accounted for. Like if we are going to have waste to where it's non-usable, like it still gets accounted for.
Sure.
But we can't just give you a square foot price, because if we give you a square foot price and the competitor gives you a square foot price, theirs probably going to come out lower than ours. But they're charging you for a much bigger window. So it's not going to make sense.
Right.
You know,
We don't quote over the phone either.
Yeah.
Just somebody will call you, hey, I got a base plate that's got 4 holes in it. Well, how big are the holes? Just email all the information in, what material you're using, how many you need.
Yeah.
And sales will take care of you from there.
Yeah. I mean, when you're small, you can get away with it, but at scale, it doesn't work. It starts breaking everything else down the line in the processes. And even like you were saying on the measurement sizes, the reason why we go take exact measurements is our guys have a whole crew that they're going to cut all the patterns here at the shop before they even go. And if those measurements aren't taken by us in person, people are showing up at jobs with the wrong size patterns.
It's a waste of time, right?
Waste of everything.
Yeah. And in our industry, there's a huge disconnect of people understanding what is manufacturable. Through, whether that's through just bad information online, what they're watching, how they're designing, the software they're designing in. There's a handful of things, and so we're checking everything as it comes in real time. Is this manufacturable? Does it work? If it doesn't, then here's how to fix it. And if you don't have the ability to fix it, we can fix it, right? So we have 5 full-time designers on board, including Justin and myself. So between, whether it's tubing or flat material, bending, whatever it is, we can pretty much sort it out on our end. But a lot of, just as much as cutting material is our business, educating is our business. And what we try to do is empower our customers to be smarter, be better about manufacturing, help them, guide them, all the things we don't get paid for. But it builds that relationship, it builds that trust, it builds that rapport to where they go, okay, I don't feel so silly handing over a drawing that I've been worked on, for 6 months. I know these guys are going to help me. They're not going to laugh at me. They're not going to say, oh, you're stupid. You don't know what you're doing. And I feel like sometimes that's where those online ones, it's just a stamp. It's a stamp of either it's approved or not approved, but it's not telling you why. And there's no one in there to communicate with them. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know why it didn't work. And so, working on something for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, putting all your hard-earned, time, effort, money into something, and then to find out it doesn't work, it's devastating, right? But we come in and say, hey, you're close. We know where you're going with this. That's not how you get there. Here's how you get there, and here's how quickly you can get there. So this is what you need to modify. This is what you need to change. Do it on your end so you can double check it, and make sure that it still fits properly, or you make whatever modifications you need to, then send it back. If in some cases we have shops that are just passing through drawings, right? So they can't even see them sometimes. So they're like, hey, just cut whatever's in there. Well, then we got to go back to them and say, hey, I know you can't see these, but here's what's happening. This is not going to work. You're going to hate these parts when you get them, but you can either trust us to fix it. We'll fix it. We'll send you an image of what is fixed, or you got to kick this back to the customer and relay this information and say, hey, you need to change this because it's not manufacturable, based on a couple different factors. One is maybe what we have for tooling or limitations within the shop, or just in general, it just doesn't work. You're at the extremes, right? And the result is going to be a variable.
No.
And so we try to help that process along and coach and mentor as many of these guys that are designing and spending their time learning. They probably won't ever buy the machines, but we want them to utilize them as if they were their own, right? As freely as possible, as easily as possible. The only way to do that is to help them be better, right? And help them understand what is possible.
So you mentioned earlier social media being part of the strategy of growing the business. How big of a part of educating is that part of the social media strategy? And
yeah, we've when we first started, it was a lot of just expose what's possible, right? Nobody there. I always say we didn't create the technology, we just learned how to expose it, right? And so tube lasers have been around for a long time. When we first started, they had been out for about 20 years, and only a handful of companies. Our manufacturer alone had only 18 in the U.S., and ours is number 80 in the world from our manufacturer. Now there's 426, 28, somewhere around there now, mainly because of us popularizing it and
They're
making it look
stocking
easy.
them at their facilities worldwide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But yeah, we just started with show parts, show what's possible, help people understand. And then it started to kind of turn into, well, that's not really moving the needle much on profits and jobs. So one of the things that we came up with was a strategy to really go after the welders. The welders in manufacturing are usually your most expensive guys. So they always have a voice, right? When something's not right, or you can help the company make something better, they're typically incentivized to help that process. So what we did is we developed all of these weldable kits, basically to kind of backdoor the purchasers and get to the welders. Everybody that's a welder, they always get somebody that comes to them and says, hey, can you make me something? Can you weld me something, for your daughter, your wife, whatever. And they'll weld up some little trinket or some little wall art or whatever. And so we designed these kits not only to demonstrate the technology, but also get them in the hands of welders and get them to start practicing and using laser cut tubing material as much as possible. And we really use geometries that you could only achieve by a tube laser. It would take you days, weeks to achieve doing it manually. So we were showcasing a couple different things, and we launched that in, I think, August of our first year. And by December, we had sold $100,000 worth of kits. I mean, we were selling them like crazy. That was a main source of our only income that we had at the time. But what it led into was companies starting to trust that we were a reputable brand. So that's kind of how the social media started. About 3 or 4 years in, people knew we made great parts. What they wanted to see was that we were educated about how we were making great parts. And so we've really started moving and shifting our social media into more educational, not always, because it's hard. We're still so involved in the business that it's hard to, get in front of a camera every day and say, okay, well, don't do this, try this,
Yes. Yes, it is.
It is tough, and we've got great people behind us. But so we've started making this shift over to more educational stuff. I've really been trying to push on our team to kind of expose some really cool things, some really cool features. But yeah, I think, for us, it's really the next step. We either have to dive into doing something like this, a long format conversation where we can really dissect certain things, talk with other industry experts, learn as much as we can, find out the tricks and the trades and what's going on, and really try to dive into that. Or we have to really just go into full education and really expose how much knowledge base we have as a group, not just me. At some point we had to make the determination there had to be a face for the company. It didn't have to be me. It just naturally ended up that way. But long term, it can't always be that way. Yep. These guys are so talented, our entire team. We would not be where we're at without the talent that we have behind the scenes. I want to expose that, not only for them, but I want people to see how well-rounded our company is, and that these people were taught from nothing into this, and that this is what has come from this environment. We were discussing environment earlier and how important that is. When I built this business, I built the business I always wanted to work for, which was super important for me. And we do a lot of internal projects and things like that where it doesn't matter what it costs. It matters what we learn from this. It has to be correct, but we're going to push the limits. We're going to get out of our comfort zone. We're going to do a lot of really weird stuff, but the end result is going to make us better, all of us better, right? And we're going to learn how each other thinks, how we move, what our process is. You're going to learn mine. I'm going to learn yours. And it's amazing how much it's changed the dynamic of our business when people, one, have a voice, but two, can think outside the box to find solutions. And it doesn't always fall on Justin and mine's shoulders, right? They're not coming to us saying, should I fix it like this? No, you've been empowered. You've been you have the knowledge to fix it, right?
Yep.
And let's just move it forward, right? Communicate with the customer. Hey, here's what I did. Now push that out, and we'll see what the result is, right? So that's kind of where our social media went from and is now. It's interesting because we're such a blip on the map in manufacturing, but our voice is gigantic. We were in Germany a month ago, and it was shocking how many people were aware of our company, who we are,
That's
what
cool.
our impact is.
That's cool.
And we didn't even promote that we were going there. We were just there. These are people just reading our shirts going, holy shit, I can't believe you guys are here. Why would you guys be here? It's bizarre. Like it's such a bizarre thing when, back when we were, he was racing motorcycles and I was racing cars, like people knew us all the time, but we just make metal parts. But somehow the industry has moved us into this like rock star untouchable category, which is the most bizarre thing ever.
Yeah.
And the way that people respond and react to us and the pressure that's on us when people come up to you and they say, listen, I started my own company because you guys inspired me. I saw what you guys were doing. I saw that you guys stepped out. I listened to the podcast. I watched this. I educated myself because of you. And it's like, whoa, I didn't make you do any of that. I hope it works out, dude, because it's tough. But they don't understand. I think they're learning quickly the sacrifices that have to be made in order to scale the way that we did. And there's been a tremendous amount of sacrifice to do that. But it's very humbling. It's very inspiring. It's a weird position to be in because you just don't think that a team of people, 30 people that are making metal parts for a living are influencing anything, let alone some sort of global campaign to go out, start your own businesses, buy your own equipment, scale it, run it. It's bizarre. It's a really weird situation.
Yeah, I would say I experienced it on a very much smaller scale, but still it's just as weird. Like I literally was at Toyota the other day picking up my car and a random guy walked up to me. So I pointed out, let's talk about our podcast. He was a detailer in town. He stepped out and started opened his own business, I believe it was like 3 to 4 years ago. And then we had a great conversation. And at the end of the conversation, I was like, you want to come sit down? I'm like, yeah, I want to talk to you. Like this, I'm just interested. Like,
where's your head at?
Yeah. And it's like, and how he was going through things and like how he's trying to expand his social media. And it's like, I don't feel like I'm doing anything. Like I'm selfishly doing all this because I want the reels. I want to put it out there. I'm trying to expand my brand for the company.
Well, I've been coming to you guys for over a couple decades now, but I've never met you. I've met you once or twice, but I've always heard about, you guys are next level tinters. You're always winning the competitions. Yeah. You're setting the bar. And, that's what we strive to do every day is set the bar and set it a little bit higher. He talks about, sacrifices of what it takes to build a business or run a company every day in and day out. And I'm not talking about Monday through Friday. I mean, he's there. I checked the alarm and the building's unarmed and I know he's there. That's every day.
Yep. No, it's definitely never an off switch. I mean, I was lucky enough that I was on vacation this past weekend. I was took my family to Disneyland.
Yeah, so it was actually kind of crazy. Both of us were out of town this weekend, and everything in the business went just like
it was fine, right?
Just normal,
Yeah. It still was like I was
it
getting
always
like,
does.
I was seeing messages and things kind of pop through, and like I still will keep like, yes, I try to shut myself off because I do want that's family time. I want to be there for my son, be there for my wife, but still at the same time, there's still always that lingering thing of like I'll see certain things come through, and where if it's and they also know too, unless like there's something really bad, that's when they'll call me, and I know it's like, all right, I do need to answer this. This something's gone wrong. They either have a question or something like that. I mean, I had one of my front admins. I was out with my wife, and it was like 10 o'clock at night. All of a sudden, I'm getting assigned new projects. I'm like, I text her. I'm like, are you working right now? And she was like, yeah. And she was trying to figure out how I knew. I was like, because I have all the messages turned on my phone. Like, I just randomly get them. Like, you were assigning me new projects. I was like, dude, go to bed. Like, thank you. You're crushing it. Like, this is amazing. Like, it blew my mind. But she's like, I couldn't sleep. I knew I had some stuff to do. I hopped on the computer. I started kind of banging out some stuff, getting it all done, trying to get myself caught up. And I was like, I appreciate it. Like, but like, go to sleep. Why are you up right now?
Tomorrow you'll be worthless to me.
Yeah, like there's no reason for that. But yeah, no, in a much smaller scale, like even like when we go to our competitions and stuff, like random people that'll walk up and then be like, I've listened to all the podcasts. I'm like,
Sure.
whoa, okay, I appreciate it, but like, what? I mean, I don't feel like I have anything special to say.
That's the way we are. We are probably, and I get the same feeling from you guys. I mean, the amount of humbleness, and just aware of where you exist, right, in the world, which is really nothing, right?
Yeah.
But for some reason, you get this voice, right, and people pay attention to it, or they listen to it, or they take it to heart. And it's so bizarre when you bump into people that you truly inspire. Even that's just from an entertainment standpoint, right? Like that was one of the things that really drove our company through all of this, was just we were the only company doing fun shit. Like we were the only ones using the equipment in a way that people wish they could always do it, but we were doing it during the day, during business hours. Why? Because is money important? Yes, it's important. But there's other things that have to develop that to where it's sustainable, right? I can't just do every Saturday, I'm going to go in and make something cool. Like I don't have time for that either. It has to happen during normal business hours. And I think that's where people caught on to like, whoa, they're doing it differently, right? It's not all about the bottom line. And our company grew so organically because of that. And our connection to our customers was so real because they felt connected to us. They were like, man, I wish I could just go cut that right now or get some time on our laser so I can make my, this table that I've always wanted. Well, we're making it right now, right? Like we looked at it differently. We approached it differently. I'm so thankful that we had an open mind to trust our process, of developing this business and know that what we're building is sustainable, going back to, those larger customers versus those smaller ones, which the smaller ones could even be multiple millions of dollars. There's always another customer to replace them. There's not always a big manufacturer that's coming in and opening their doors and going to be a $1 billion company and looking to outsource. That's the other part, outsource their manufacturing. So we really focused on the sustainable businesses, guys that, we've seen even through COVID, people open shops, they close shops. But now there's shops that are opening up right behind them over and over and over and over again. And there's always a chance to capitalize, on that business. So yeah, it's been a wild ride these 8 years of doing what we're doing.
If anything, in my eyes, I see it as like you guys are actually you guys are letting the smaller guy feel like they're actually being heard and like they're being seen.
Sure.
And it's like, oh no, all right, we can do this too. Like you are selling yourselves, you're selling the trust and like showing everything throughout the shop too, of being able to do things like that. I mean, I'd say that's where we've seen probably most of our growth in the past like year and a half, 2 years. I mean, my dad started the business in 83, moved out here in 92. So we had the brand, we have the years, but the last couple of years, us putting out the reels, just talking about what you can and can't do. Same thing with the educational standpoint. Like if we were to walk on the strip and talk about tint, I would say majority of people are going to think about cars. You start mentioning houses and commercial buildings because we hear it constantly. We heard it constantly growing up and tinting houses. Was if I would have known about this, I would have done this years ago. And that's what we locked onto. And it was like, there it is. That's what we need to be doing because there kind of wasn't anybody out there doing it yet. And we just locked onto that. And we just started. I mean, that's what we try to draw from the podcast to begin with, especially if we have other industry people on. It was talk about that and just what you can and can't do. Things are that, you have to know about your glass, what you are putting on your glass. A lot of people in our industry won't open their door to do flat glass because they're scared they're going to go into someone's house and break all their windows. And now it's like, cool, I just landed this job for a couple $1,000 and now I'm out a couple $1,000 because I had to replace all the glass on the house.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's like just putting that out there of like, this is what you can and can't do. This is the tools that we use to make sure that we're doing it correctly because we also have the builders and glass companies. Don't tint your windows. It's going to void the warranty.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's going to. But that's why we use the manufacturers we use because they back that and they make sure that we're doing it properly to where they're not worried about it because the likelihood of it breaking, it comes down to just manufacturing for them is you produce 1,000 windows, 1 or 2 of those windows are going to have a defect in them. Doesn't matter what you do to that window. It's probably going to break eventually no matter what. And they're fine with taking that risk. and then we still go out, and if a window breaks, it just gets replaced. We re-tint it. But educating the public space about what we can and can't do, all of a sudden, like he's going on sales calls, he's walking in, and it's like, I only called you guys because I didn't even know we could do it. And they probably already seen like 4 or 5 of our reels. And then when someone's like, oh, I saw you guys on Instagram, and then I watched an episode. It's like, you spent 2 hours listening to us talk. Like, all right. I'm not going to say we have this wrapped up, but I'm pretty certain as long as he doesn't say anything rude to offend the customer,
you want at that point.
Just measure the windows, present the product, and I think we got this one. So it's been,
I think once you got I don't think everybody ever gets the business side of it down, but like if you get good at what you do and you're constantly getting better at it and you can deliver a good product, if you add that social media on top and you're fearless enough to actually put yourself out there and record it and capture it, that's like where everything's at right now in my mind.
Yeah, 100%.
People are spending 6 to 8 hours a day on their phone.
Oh,
how can you get on there and actually be something that they're paying attention to? And the cool thing is the algorithms now, they find the people for you. If they're interested in what you're doing, Meta's gonna feed them the video.
Yeah, I mean we've gone viral a couple of times with 20 million plus views stuff. It's interesting because social media is a weird thing. I always tell people all the time, like, one, you have to get over the fear that you're going to say something stupid. You're going to say something stupid, right? And people are either going to laugh at it or you're going to look at it later and be like, all right, I probably shouldn't have said that. But, especially in a short format, long format, if you're comfortable a little bit, you can calm yourself, think about what you're going to say, all that type of stuff. Short format, it's a little different, but yeah, you got to put it out there, whatever it is. And I always say you can't dictate what the internet's going to think is cool, right? Yeah. You put something out there. There's so many times where we film something, we're like, this is going to kill. And then it does nothing. And then you put this like really simple repeating pattern, almost like when you're standing with like a garden hose and you kind of fall into that like trance. And it's just that da, 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 da. And it's over and over and over again. And people just like, they fall into that trance and they just watch it and watch it and watch it. And it's like, that's so silly. There's nothing special about that. But for some reason you captured whatever their brain was thinking. And a lot of other people could have been with the algorithm, whatever the algorithm was pushing that day, got people into that mode. But yeah, you can't be afraid to put it out there. For us, our business is almost 100% directly related to social media in the sense of when we're not as active on social media, our emails start to go away. Once we start to ramp back up, emails come back up. It's almost like, if you're not out in the open, you're going to be forgotten, right? You just have to keep pushing it out, keep pumping it out, let people know that you're there, you're reliable, you're consistent. And I think that's one place where people fall short is they get involved in the social media. Maybe they have a little bit of growth and then they just trail off. Yep. And you can't do that because it is a lot of work. It's a tremendous amount of work. Yeah. Whether you're editing reels or you're pushing stuff out there, you're trying to get in front of the camera, it's tough. And so like for me, I've been doing it now for the 8 years that we've been in business, from start to finish. We've got people now that assist with it. Like my wife, she does all the marketing and the reels and, so I'll film it out in the shop and I'll do it and I'll push it to her and then she'll package it up and put it out there and she crushes it. But at the same time, it's like, I really need to start to expose other people, let people see what we have behind the doors here, cause one, they're great. They're confident. They just need the exposure, to push it out there, but it's going to open up a whole realm of possibilities, right? People are going to tell us what they want to see more of. Yep. And then the only way we're going to do that is to take that chance and go for it. It's the social media side, because it's been so directly related with our business, has been something that we've held very close, and very controlled, because you really have two ways now. You can either go the wacky TikTok way, which works for some people, or you can still keep it serious and fun and real representative of the environment, right? That maybe you work in or that you want to represent, but not so, TikTok-y, trendy. That's just not the way we've decided to go,
Oh yeah, no, I've been asked to do a couple different things, and I go, you can go find someone else to go do this. and we have a couple of people that are game. Our flat glass manager Armando, he's pretty much game to do anything. I've only seen him shoot down like one idea, and he's like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing it either. yeah. But yeah, it's crazy when something does pop, and then all of a sudden you start seeing everyone interacting each other on that reel. Like we've had like one or two pieces. We recently had one where we were just collabed with it. It was a competition me and him are at, and it was more of it was a quality competition, but it's a thing called Tint Battles, where it's like pretty much has entertainment built into it, where they're just trying to he live streams the competition, and how it's geared towards like exposing what we do, but with entertainment twist to it, because you have to grab people's attention.
Live commentary, like you're watching WWE. So yeah, really, really cool. And he had a lot of videos pop off from that. But yeah, I think it's the consistency part that you were talking about, I think is the biggest thing. Play around with stuff, and we'll do some of the like TikTok-y kind of stuff and jump on trends. But if you can stay consistent, like you were saying, in the past, before we got really consistent with it, and now we have someone that's dealing with it full time, I would have a streak of making reels consistently while out on installs. And we'd get so busy that I wouldn't have time to do that anymore. Yeah. And I'd stop doing it, and then it dies. And it's like, well, why aren't we as busy anymore? And it's like, took a couple cycles of that happening to realize, hey, we need to stay consistent with this and have someone that's full time on it. And the fact that
it's a part of the business, right? It's no different than filling out your invoices or your estimates, right? Like you have to set time aside for it. And again, you can't dictate what's cool. So you almost can't spend too much time setting up for it. It's just whatever's natural, right? Like, because like I said, there's so many times where we've looked at things and we're like, all right, this is the one, like this is going to be the next viral one. And then you're just like, 6,000 views.
Yeah.
What? But at the same thing on?
At the same time, though, that just reached 6,000 people.
Sure, it's not bad. It's just like when you put that much time, like that production value into it, or you've really thought about. And the other thing is too is I've had quite a few thoughts about some of those situations, and I think sometimes too, because we're really known for pushing the limits and taking the risks, that we put things out there that are so advanced that people's brains can't even really wrap around them. Even within the shop, like there's times where he'll look over at my computer and he's like, what are you doing? And like, he knows as much, if not more than I do about the manufacturing process. And, even he's questioning what is about to come out in physical form. And then you try to present that to the world that we know for sure has never seen it. Yeah. It's hard sometimes for them to comprehend what's actually going on until you can. And unfortunately, we, majority of our business is not local, and we don't have a lot of in-house traffic where you could physically hand somebody that item and they can look at it. They just have to take your word for it. Now with AI, who knows what's real and fake? That's the other kicker. Now it's a whole nother battle that you have, because you look at stuff and you're like, I don't know about that. I don't know if that's correct, right? So it's social media is a weird place to.
It's not real.
Yeah, like in our personal lives, like we're never on social media. I can't stand it. But from a business sense, it absolutely has to be done. There's no buts about it. Like it's not negotiable for me from a business sense. From a private sense, absolutely not.
Yeah, no, it took me a while to lean into it. I think I only had a Facebook to begin with because my wife set it up for me like just out of high school, and that's the only reason why I had it. And then I started Instagram, I think 2 years ago. And same thing, we were at a point where we were starting to make a push more heavy into social media. And then he didn't bug me for years about doing a podcast. And I'm definitely more of like operational in the sense of like, bring me the cameras we have to use. Where are we going to do this at? What mics do we use? How do we edit this? Yep. Like give me a skeleton, and we'll go from there. And then we just got presented an opportunity where local business, Ryan Pineda, he does real estate, but he opened up a section of his company called Pineda Media, to where it's like he got real big on social media, I think around 2017, 18. That's where he made his huge push into it. And then he all of a sudden was like, hey, use my team. And I knew he was local. I knew about him growing up because he played baseball. and we knew of him. And I was like, all right, I've already was following him. I trusted him. I was like, let's give this a try. I filled out the form, sent it in. We vetted it. They called us. We vetted the phone call. And then we ended up going into it because we also had the accessibility of using his studio. So it made it real easy. Yeah. But then as soon as you get into the process, you realize like there is a lot to do it. And it's like, if we're going to do this, we're going to go all in, we're going to do it. And we can't just do it for a month and be like, oh, we don't see a return. Yeah. Like, that's not how this is going to work. We got to put at least 3 to 6 months into this to see what we can really get out of it. Thankfully, we saw a return like really quick. All of a sudden, being consistent with putting out at least that one reel a day, because everything was first stemmed from the podcast. Yeah. Was all right, we'll get at least 7 reels from every podcast. So that's one every single day of the week. We release the podcast on Wednesday. And then, if someone tunes into the podcast, cool. But I mean, the real thing that we're going after is the reels. Yeah. Right. And then we started stacking onto that where we'd add a couple things we're doing around the shop. And now it's at a point where it's like, Jordan was my graphics and my PPF installer. And I was like, all right, at the beginning of this year, I was like, all right, you're not touching this stuff anymore. You are just, I want minimally 4 pieces of content a day. And it'll either be something to be entertaining, and then we want educational. One of them is the podcast. And then we're trying to create, 4 different point of views of what you see throughout the company. We're still trying to change it, adapt it, and see what works best and expose the other parts of the company to where it's not just me. Because at first, when it was just the podcast, it was constantly people walk in, they see me, they see him. Like, oh, you're the ones. Like, yeah, but there's more people here. That's a lot more people here.
Yes. Yeah.
But as we went through that entire process, got comfortable with it, and then we were like, all right, we want to be able to set up our own area. And then like I wanted to do, my big thing is I wanted to start the academy, because that's the other problem we have, as we were talking about employee retention earlier, is on the flat glass side and the auto side too, is our entire industry is short on labor. Like we all say the same thing every year. Whenever we go to our conferences and talk to other dealers that we know that we network with, we say the same thing every year. If I had a couple more installers, I could have done so much more. And so it's like, all right, we finally had the space. We were leasing out this section of the building because we were lucky enough to own from this wall that way. And the guy the lease went up, he left, and then it was sitting empty for a while. And I was like, let's build an academy. And then I was able to get a manufacturer to go in on it, help fund it, get it off the ground. And it's like, like I said, we're launching our first class this week. We're going to, take it as it comes, see how it goes. Like I have a rough game plan if I know what I want to do and how it's going to work out. But we've done one person, like a one-on-one. This will be the first time we do 5 people at once. Yeah. To where I want to make sure that I'm providing what I'm selling you, and just keep kind of growing from there. But as we were able to build this out, and it was like, perfect. Now we have somewhere to set up our own recording to where we're not reliant anymore of trying to squeeze everything into one day where the studio is open and trying to coordinate everyone. Now we can just randomly be like, hey, we can get someone in on this day. All right, set up the table, let's go. We can sit down, record, and start banking episodes, because that's the other stressful thing too. As soon as you get on that consistency, I think we've missed 1 or 2 weeks. One was we lost audio recording from the previous studio, and then the other one, I think we thought we had so many built up, and then all of a sudden it's like, we don't have anybody for this week. Oh no, what are we going to do? It's like, instead of just throwing some nonsense out there, we're just like, all right, we're just going to deal with it, and we'll get the next one to go the next week. But as soon as we did see that consistency, that 1 week that we dropped, we were getting like a good amount of views, I'd say, on YouTube. And as soon as we missed that 1 week, all of a sudden it seemed like, oh, what just happened? Yeah. And it's like it's building itself back up. But the consistency thing was key. And then also having the accessibility to do it in-house.
Whenever you wanted.
Whenever we wanted. That was being able to control everything ourselves. We were able to work with Ryan's team really well, but like he started that up, and I think within like 6 to 8 months, he was like, no, not a good idea. Shut it down. And it was like, hey, I'll offer you a year of coaching for what your contract is if you want to stop now. And we were like, no, we want to keep using your studio. We're gonna ride this thing out, and then we'll get our own things stood up and built. And that's the same thing we pitched for the manufacturer and for one of our CRMs, TintWiz, it's our main sponsor. Is we told them like, all right, we're gonna build all this in house, and we're going to set up the academy. And they were like, do it. And it was nice.
How can we help?
Yeah, we've talked about it a couple times of setting up a podcast, and it mainly even just for us, there's so many things that we encounter throughout the day and the week, of customer files, customer programs. It was always a goal and a dream to to set up a podcast studio, but where we had, a large display where we could actually talk about certain things, but in a very casual way, the same way that we would talk to each other about it, not you can't do this and never ever do it, but like, hey, this is something we encountered. This is a customer part, this is why it didn't work, but just real scenarios of what we're going through on a regular basis that play into, I think, a lot of people that could, look at it and be like, oh, I do that. I should probably fix that. Right. But coming from people that you're trusting to manufacture your parts. Right. So I think we can reach a larger group. It's funny. We used to sit down every beginning of the year, and come up with this laundry list of stuff that we wanted to accomplish throughout the year. And it was ridiculous. At one point, it's probably 50 or 60 items, and I think throughout that year, we maybe only accomplished like 5 or 6. It's one of those throw everything at the wall. We'll see what sticks. No idea is a bad idea. But I think we're finally now getting to the point where we're comfortable enough to spend that time doing some other things that we want to accomplish. We've launched a couple things even with our manufacturer this last year. We did this year, I guess, right?
It was October.
Oh yeah, it was October. Sorry. Time's flying.
24.
We pitched an idea to them. Again, they're so strict with what they will and will not do, but we pitched a project of basically, pros working with pros, right? We'll come to one of your facilities. We will, within a couple of days, build something from scratch, right? Something that we know nobody's ever seen before. We ended up, it was funny because we
had 50 plus projects.
We had all these projects that we had come up with, and they were really stuck on like this e-bike. They wanted to rebuild an e-bike. And it was funny because they were like, oh, it'll be no problem. You guys can come in, design like a really cool tube chassis. And I said, no, hold on. It already starts as a tube chassis. Why would we do that? Yeah. Like, let's go like really heavy sheet metal. And it just threw them for a tailspin. They just couldn't even conceptualize what it was. And, we dumped a tremendous amount of time and effort and money into trying to get that to stick with them. I think long-term we'll probably be doing more of these. But it was an interesting process to go through with them and pitch and know that I could sell the idea to them and them bite on it and know that it was a good thing, know that they were with good people, know that we could protect not only our reputation, their reputation, but we could do it in a very real way. It ended up coming out great, but the process was painful. It did not go as smooth as everybody thought it was going to go. Not necessarily from our side, from their side, more than anything. I just don't think that their team they hadn't bought in.
I don't think they were ready to work with a group of guys that do custom one-off stuff or find solutions to problems day in and day out. These guys they're trying to sell equipment, trying to sell machines. So they're really looking at the functionality and how easy it is that you can do this too. And then we come in and just blow the doors open and we're doing stuff out of, copper and aluminum flat sheets. And then we throw 10 different bends in this thing and it looks nothing like a flat piece of metal when it started. And you tell them what it was. We built the e-bike. E-bike.
Yeah.
So they had this idea. We had a list of 50 things from giant battleship to one guy wanted to make a electric couch and a giant pair of metal pants and just as
there was all
crazy as
crazy
you could get,
ideas
right?
in there.
And like you said, they were stuck on building an e-bike, and how we got there, they wanted to buy some piece of junk off a marketplace. And the first thing we did is took an angle grinder and cut this thing in half and kept the wheels. We kept
the wheels, the motor, and that was
motor,
it, and the brakes. Yeah, and we redesigned everything. Yeah. But yeah, it was, Justin hit it on the head. It's the difference between, somebody who's, selling this equipment and then somebody who's using it to survive, right? Like when we were problem solving, our problem solving in our normal day, we have a problem that's going to take us minutes to fix, and we're going to fix it now, and we're going to get on it right away. The process there was hours. So it was like, this isn't going to work. We have a 3-day deadline to do, 100 hours worth of work, and we've already basically done the designing side of it. All we have to do is manufacture it. And it was a struggle. It wasn't, it's no fault of their own, but it just wasn't a situation. I thought for sure like this was going to be the one. Like we could do this all the time, and it didn't turn into that. The outcome, the videos turned out great, but again, it's all what it is on the outside, the appearance, right?
Yeah.
Of like what actually happened. But again, I think the biggest thing from a business side is, our voice and how it travels, and our manufacturer taking us seriously, and that if we're pitching this idea to them, it's probably got to be a good idea. And it ended up being a good idea, but it was a painful process. The goal long term would be for them to offer some sort of designing challenge every year at one of their facilities where they bring in 5 or 6 teams. We're utilizing their equipment that's there. We're utilizing their teams and their people. And let's see what great items come out of this, right? You have a once in a lifetime opportunity to see creation done in one shot and utilize the equipment, which is going to help sell machines,
Yep.
right? And you're going to see it utilized in ways that, it's probably not traditional, but it's okay, right? And that was one of the things that we even warned their team about. It's like, whatever you guys have always wanted to do with this equipment, we're probably going to do, right? And that's okay. Like we got the okay for this. Why? Because this is how we use it every day. And we can't just be stuck on not using it in an unsafe way, but in a way that's just not normal. Yeah, it's not a conventional way to use it.
You know what? I think it is a conventional way because you hit it. We're talking about using these machines for survival, putting food on our table. And I think there's people around the world that are doing the same thing, in different ways. There's a million ways to skin a cat.
Oh yeah.
And I think you have it in your mind or you don't. You have the heart or you don't. You can either figure it out or hit the road.
Yep.
And I think that falls into just business in general, right? Like not everybody has it,
Yeah.
the sacrifices, the mentality, the things you're willing to do that other people aren't willing to do.
You guys are in a space with a lot of competition. I mean,
Yeah.
we're 5 miles up the road, but I think I counted 2 or 3 tint shops just right here on Sunset.
If you go a block that way, there's another one. You go a block that way, there's another one. Actually, there's 2 that way. No, it's it's trying to separate yourself any way you can. I mean, we're definitely most likely shining light on the fact that we are not going to be the cheapest. But what we have to offer though is we're going to we carry a top quality product, and we expect nothing but excellence when it comes to installation.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it's you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
When it comes to anything.
We treat every job as if it's our own. That's something that we try to really enforce out on the shop floor, even from start to finish, right? From the time somebody makes contact with us to the time they receive their parts. If you were on the other end of that, would you be satisfied, right? And it's really hard, I think, in some cases, especially in the workforce, to put yourself in anybody's shoes, right? Because you really just care about how much you're making, how long you got to be there, and when do I get to go home. And so when you've got to get them to think outside the box a little bit and say, hey, if this showed up today and you were waiting on this for weeks and that's how it got to you, would you be impressed? Probably not, right?
I saw that while we were there. We took us back to the packaging area, and he was kind of telling me how you guys go through your process and how much more over the top you guys go than anything else. Because when that door opens up, for that exact same reason, like you're seeing what you ordered, like how it comes to you, that makes a big difference. I even saw when you guys packing something, and I saw you cut it off and show them a different way to pack it, and you had it all binded up. Like that is the detail that that catches people's eyes.
Yeah, it all makes a difference, right? And even if the end result is still the same, let's say UPS destroys it, at least I know it left there with the greatest potential to show up there properly, right? And that's what's really hard to get people to see is what could the outcome be and what should it be, right? What should it be is the way that it's presented right now, the way it looks on our floor before it left here. Yep. The way it's going to get there is going to be a whole nother deal, but but you got to give it the opportunity to survive. And it's not an easy thing to go through, especially with young talent. I think you guys have a lot of young talent as well. It's a struggle, right? Their world is very, very small, and ours was too at that age, right? They just don't have enough experience or enough confidence to either say something or change something, or, just say, listen, this is above my decision making. Let somebody else make a decision. We try to tell them that all the time. You get to that point where something doesn't look right. If it doesn't look right, say something. Put the decision making in somebody else's hands. Don't just keep going with the process because you want to get it done. It affects me. It affects you. It affects all of us at the end of the day. If we lose that customer, it may just be one customer, but you don't know the significance of that customer.
Yep.
I can't tell you how many times we've scaled somebody from a single part to hundreds of thousands of dollars in income and trust, and to the point where they've scaled their businesses so much that they buy their own equipment. That's a great feeling to scale a business that much and have that type of effect and know that they trusted you along the way to help do that. It's few and far between, but we've probably done that 8-10 times over the last 8 years. And
there's still customers that are with us since day one that don't want to get into their own equipment, or they don't have the space, or they don't have the time, and they trust us completely to just say, hey, make these, get them to me in 3 days. No problem.
Yeah. No, that's definitely a part I would say that we've been trying to also grow within our teams too, is that like every time we bring someone on, it's like, I'm going to show you the way I do it. And this is how I want you to do it to begin with, because I'm teaching you, trying to get you teach you the fundamentals. You are going to get to a point where we are going to go to a competition, and you're going to see people do this so many different ways, and they're all just as talented as me. I know that for a certainty, because there's plenty of guys that I've lost to that, like how they install. I'm like, I don't know why you're doing that. It makes zero sense. But I also know you're one of the top tier installers in the country, so I'm just going to keep my mouth shut, or I'm going to be extremely curious. That's when I kind of broke out of my box, is when I started getting curious and started asking, why'd you do that? And then I'll hear the explanation of it. And I might not use all of it, but I might take a piece of that back, try it myself, and realize, oh, okay, that makes complete sense. It's just be extremely curious about what's going on and watch people. Especially, thankfully, this year, that's one thing we've been trying to do with our team. We were doing quarterly events this year because the main 10 off that we always go to is up in Reno this year. So it's just up the street technically. Yeah. So we're going to we're going to pretty much almost shut the shop down. We'll be shut down for about 4 or 5 days, and we're taking the whole team up there. We have comprised together with my installers, and then also a couple of subcontractors that I'm really good friends with that do a lot of work for us too. I think we have 13 people competing, and we're all it's like, you guys are gonna I know where I got better as an installer was watching all these people, and some of the younger guys, I told them, I'm going to point you in the direction of these are the people that you talk to. They might seem like they're mean. They're not. I promise you. They're going to bust your balls the entire time. I promise you that. But also the amount of knowledge they have, ask them as many questions as you humanly can, because they also have been in your position at one point. And to have the ability to go to an event like that and now talk to people from across the country and network.
The world, really.
Yeah.
The world. That's true. The world. We got people coming from Korea, Italy, Australia, to where it's like they're all, if they're flying that far, majority of almost all of them, they're all killers. They're all amazing what they do. And they all do things like Baeyoung Park from Korea. Yeah. He's won once. Yeah. He's won other competitions a couple times. The first time I watched him install in Baltimore in 2014, I was watching him squeegee a window with a card, and I was like, what are you doing? That makes no sense. And then it's like I actually started to get to know him, and I was like, oh, you just do it differently, and you're still amazing at what you do. And it's like, I can learn something from this. Yeah. I can pick something up from this.
And I think that's just goes along with just maturing as a human, is just knowing that you can learn something from somebody, and you can sit back, and maybe not say so much and just pay attention and listen. And, that's one thing that, we've always talked about, when we get asked all the time, like, who's your closest competition? Who's this, who's that? And we don't feel like we're competing with anybody. And that's not from being arrogant. We just don't look at anybody that way. Nobody's a threat. Yep. What I'd rather do is find ways that we can be stronger together, because we are stronger together than we are apart. If you want to compete, you're going to lose. I can promise you that. Yep. But I don't want to be in that with you. There's plenty of work for everybody. We can find ways to network and utilize our skills and find out where we're strong and where we're weak. Why do we buy this piece of equipment? Why do we buy that piece of equipment? Understand the mentality from each other and try to push that forward, right? Especially from a decision-making skill or decision-making situation as a business, not just from the way we operate our machines, right? Let's learn why we made the decisions, when we made the decisions. And it's weird because we've opened our door many, many times. And we don't get me wrong, we have a lot of people that reach out, but there's a lot of people that are really standoffish that probably shouldn't be. We don't look at them that way. I don't know why they look at us that way.
We've got the same thing in this industry. In my opinion, the only competition is the person in the mirror.
Yeah.
And that should be the culture of the whole business. Like, if we're worrying about what anybody else is doing and we're not worrying about how we can improve and get better, we're wasting our time and energy. Yeah. And if we can instill that in all of our guys, I know we're going to be good.
Yeah. And that's what, Justin was stating, we're just trying to push the bar, every day for us.
Yep.
At the end of the day, we can't control what the industry does. We can't control what people that do the same thing do. We can't control what they buy, when they buy it. All we can do is do us, focus on us. How do we get better? How do we progress the business? How do we move it forward? What decision making are we going to get ourselves involved in? At the same time, staying the course, of where we're headed, what the goal is. And I think for us, we've always been very, very clear on what our mindset is and how we move forward. And we've always had an open door policy. You want to come in and see how we do and what we do and why we do it? Come on in. I would hope that you would extend your hand to me the same way.
Yeah.
But we know sometimes that's not the way it works, right?
Oh yeah.
And it's the fearfulness of you're going to steal business from me. It's like, we don't do it that way. That's not our way of going about it. If your customer finds me, that's your fault, not mine. And I can promise you're not going to get them back, because at the end of the day, we didn't build this business by chance. It wasn't given to us. We're killers. We are just very humble about it. We're not out, trying to scalp your customers. We're not sitting there saying, hey, we'll do it for a lower price. We're not involved in any of that.
Yeah.
We just control what we can control, pay attention to what's going on. We do spend more time listening, watching, plotting, figuring out what our next move is long before we ever make it. There's so many times, so many avenues we could have gone down at many different times that are extremely lucrative, but the support system is not there. And, there's been many times where I pulled them into the office and I'm like, listen, it's going to take all 5 of us to do this. If one of you is out, then we're not making this decision because it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
It's going to take a full commitment, and I still don't know how we're going to do it. But the core of it has to be this group. And if we're not feeling it and the support's not there, we're not doing it. And he's done the same thing. We've looked at many different services, many different routes we could take the business. Say, hey, I think this is the route we're going. Okay, cool. Let's discuss it. Let's think about it. Let's really analyze it over the next 30, 60 days. Let's see how often we're getting asked for these certain things. And then we'll either pull the trigger or we won't, It's been a very methodical approach to the business. But at the same time, very aware of what's going on. Just because we have a course doesn't mean that the path doesn't change.
Yeah.
Right. It just has to change for the right reason. And that's been one of the things that we've really focused on this last year is, our shop, we still got plenty of room. We can still bring in more equipment. We can still do a lot of things, but we've really looked back at, what has a lower footprint, a lower cost, a higher output, what really accelerates some of the services we already have. And that's kind of really been our mentality for the last year versus these, $1 million to $2.5 million machines. We're like, well, what can we get for 50 grand, 80 grand, 100 grand that will really accelerate our business, And so it's been fun to kind of dabble in that market because we've always just been known for just buying the big equipment and, what's the next big piece of equipment you guys are going to buy? And it's like, well, we're not even operating in that mental state right now. We're looking at, high impact, low square footage, low cost, but just gigantic impact to our business. And I don't think people thought we were going to move in that direction. And so those are conversations we have daily. We sit in the same office together, and there's so many times where we just say something to each other randomly. And it's like, I don't need you to respond. I'm putting the bug in your ear, because a month from now, I'm going to bring it back up. Right. And you're going to understand, like, why did I say those words? Well, that's because I'm seeing a trend, right? I'm seeing something go on that I think we need to start shifting our focus towards, or just be aware of, that might be changing, in our industry, just like any other industry. So, I'm thankful that, we work so well together and understand the mindset that we have moving forward. Because there's no way we would be where we're at today without each other, and complementing each other's moves and trying to figure out what's next, right? What's the future look like, and be, responsible for the well-being of 30 people, right? Every decision we make is tough. It's a lot of pressure, especially at $1 million+ You can't be wrong, right? You might get away with that mistake one time, but you're not going to get away with it twice, and so it's a tremendous amount of pressure. And that's probably one place that we don't spend a lot of time talking about, but it's definitely on the forefront of our thought process when we're making decisions. Can't just affect us. It has to affect everybody else in a positive way, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's the thing that not enough people talk about when they talk about entrepreneurship and business ownership is, you want to scale and get big. And it's like, well, what's the responsibility that comes on the other side of that? And I'm always reminded when we do have our like quarterly get-togethers, and it's like going to a Knights game, and everybody brings their family and their girlfriends and their spouses and their children, and we've got a giant group of like 30, 40 people sitting there. And every time we've done it, I kind of just find myself sitting back looking at that giant group going, whoa.
Yeah.
Can't believe it got to this. Like, there's a lot of responsibility here.
It's
good. I love it, but it's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, it's not for everyone either. That type of responsibility. Look, everybody looks at business owners or upper management, and they're like, it doesn't matter. Like, you got it set. You're going to walk out of this making money. And in most cases, yeah, they're probably right. But, it's the responsibility along the way to provide, a livelihood for how many ever employees you have, whether it's 4 or it's 400. And understand that the decisions that you're making directly affect these people, good or bad. We had an opportunity for a partnership deal earlier last year, and on paper it was great, but the downside was the only people that benefited from it was myself and my father. Nobody else did. So how do I go sell that to the group that this is a good idea? Yep. Because at some point you're going to say, where's my cut, right? How come I'm not making more? How come I'm not, getting more opportunities? Well, because I made that decision to take those away, right? For my own greed or my own benefit, right? Anyway, long story short, we didn't take the deal, but it came with a lot of pressure, right? Yeah, when you look at a deal like that on paper, you go, yeah, I got to make this deal. But if it's not benefiting the people that are pushing your business forward, it's hard to do. I know a lot of people will make that decision. It's just not who we are. It's not who I am. And it's those times where, like you said, you got to look in the mirror and like, that's your only competition. That's the only person you're competing with. You gonna change that person, or you gonna stay true to yourself and say, hey, this is what I represent, going back to the morals of the business, right?
Yeah.
So
no, yeah. It took me some laps around the sun to get to the point of realizing when I was young, it was more of pushing to the fact of like, yeah, we're going to be the best shop. And unfortunately, I wasn't focused directly on the shop. I was just an installer, and then also thinking about the other technical competition around us. And then finally getting to that point of realizing like, yeah, the only thing that I need to worry about is me, myself, and the company. There's too much work out there to be good to focus on that. And it's just a waste of time and energy.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the videos that we did go viral was one of the recurring comments was Americans will make a competition out of anything, and it's like my usual response to that was like, I know from like this clip, it seems like that's all that I care about is the competition, but like iron sharpens iron. Like the competitions are fun, yes. Is it cool to say, oh, I won, I'm the best? Oh, yeah, that's fun. But where the real value is in this competition is the people that I'm surrounded by, the people I get to talk to that are all on the same page of just trying to grow their business and realizing the same thing of like, there's too much glass out there for us to be worrying about what each other's doing, like trying to steal a customer from a client. And, you know, like when we were growing up, my parents were definitely more of the mentality, keep it small, keep it all. And you know, I understand it though, because getting to the point where we're at now, we have 18 people that work for us. Like, that looms on my mind constantly. Is that, am I making the right decision? Is it not? Yeah, it could affect my own personal income or anything like that. But like, I'm more worried about, is it going to affect their income? And I'm not going to be able to provide work for them. That's another thing that's kind of scared me with some of the growth we've had, is I only want to bring on someone if I know that I'm bringing them on, like they're staying on. I am not okay with bringing someone on because we're busy right now. And then say a couple months from now, all of a sudden things die out. Like, I'm not going to go to that person and be like, hey, sorry, bud. Like, we just don't have enough. I got to let you go. Like, I will have a huge problem with that decision. Like, so it's like anytime we bring someone on, it's at a point of like pretty much letting them know, like, I'm going to guarantee you at minimal 40 hours a week, no matter what. You don't ever have to worry about that. I will make sure that happens no matter what. Even that comes down to the fact that if I have to take, if I'm not taking a check, that's fine with me because you're relying on me to provide this work. It's not the other way around. Yeah. So, but it's been a fun ride so far. Definitely different points in my career where definitely obviously I've gotten to the point for certainty now that I do look at business now. Business is business. Numbers are numbers. Yep. Those don't necessarily lie, you know, and it's just, it doesn't matter what you're doing within the business. There are things that can be corrected and things you got to be looking at. And especially as you're trying to scale too, you know, we definitely have had, at least for myself, I had my eyes opened up widely over the past couple of years after my father stepped away from the company. And it's like, it was just like, all right, you guys running it. And it's what you guys pretty much saying is happening. And it's like, now I got to also think about like whatever decision I end up making doesn't just affect me. It affects everyone within the company. Yeah. And
I'm going to take this in a totally different direction just because you said the American thing. And I see the nice flag on your hat. Mm-hmm. How has the whole, global thing going on right now with tariffs and stuff, being a U.S. manufacturer, has that been a benefit to you guys, or is it costing you more to get the raw material? How you see that playing out?
Yeah, it always costs more, regardless.
Every day. Yeah, and even the stuff that is made here, you know, those mills and those depots are capitalizing that the price is going up on everything in the future, so they're just bumping the price up too. You know, as far as like the manufacturing side, we had some people panic, like in Canada, Mexico. They're calling us and they're like, hey, we need to figure out if you guys can manufacture these parts for us. And, you know, everything was flip-flopping one day to the next 30 days. And, you know, we were kind of just in a holding pattern. And some of those people went away and then some of them came back. And, you know, as far as like the manufacturing side and the business side, like we're seeing, you know, people come across the border for using our services. But on the material side and just getting our consumables, I think at some point we'll run into an availability thing more so than a cost thing. It's just hard to say. We don't make material. You know, it's just in our business, it's a convenience that we provide material to our customers, being that they're all the way from here to New York City, that it doesn't make sense for them to ship their material to us and then for us to ship it back. You know, it's we provide a lot of material. Probably most of our customers buy from us. We buy from local suppliers. We have a few that are outside of Nevada, but overall, everything's still next day from us. The price of material does go up. It comes down. It's a commodity. So weekly, I'm looking at different reports every Monday morning about what different mills and what different metals are doing.
Yeah. Well, so as far as like my initial thought on it, and now I'm thinking back what we were just talking about, like the competition side, as far as people getting parts from other countries and whatnot. I think it probably helps you a lot, the fact that you're not looking outward at competition and you're just trying to figure out and solve problems as they come at you. That's probably a huge help, where it probably doesn't seem like it's really as big of a deal.
Yeah, it never really seems to affect us in a negative way. You know, COVID gave us a gigantic spike in growth. You know, the onshoring is huge right now, especially in manufacturing. You know, where even 2 years ago, the average first order that we would see from larger companies would be a couple thousand. We're seeing companies now 30, 40, 50,000 as their very first order with us. They don't have time to screw around.
Yeah.
They've got to get going. They've got to get up and running. They can't test the waters. They just have to trust that the company that they're choosing is going to provide. For us, it's, I wouldn't say it's more pressure in the sense. It's just an awareness that there's a lot of companies now that are really banking on companies like ourselves to follow through. And that's been one of the biggest, I'd say, complaints outside of cost. I'd say outside of cost, the most common comment about American manufacturing is the quality, and then just the timeliness of it, right? And you get the same thing when people are ordering,
if you're going
containers
overseas,
and stuff from China, right?
If you're
Like,
going
Well, that's what I'm
overseas, you're
saying.
looking at costs.
Yeah. Well, the
you're-
time thing, if you're manufacturing it here, you don't have however many months it takes to ship it from over
Sure.
there, right?
Yeah.
So
How
that's
about
an
the
advantage.
How
Yeah.
about the mile of ships that are sitting in the port in California
yeah,
a couple
It's-
years ago?
Yeah, there's a lot of other factors that are involved. I think, one of the biggest misconceptions, especially with the manufacturing and the metal side, is, our scrap, almost all of our scrap is shipped out of the country. We don't typically refine scrap metal. So when Chinese boats come here, they get filled with scrap and they go back to China. So we're giving away a lot of our own resources, which obviously drives up the cost.
Ugh.
The difference is that, over there, they don't have the same restrictions on manufacturing that we do. So when you're talking about, cost and, does it make sense? It really comes down to regulation. There's ways to manufacture things and make things and still do it the right way. Is it always going to be the best for the environment? No. Is it always going to be the best financially? No. Can there be some middle ground? Absolutely.
Yeah.
The problem is, and as we all know, our politics, especially here in the US, are so polarizing. It's on or off, and there is no middle ground. And that's a shame, because we should be far more independent. Again, there are ways to do it right. We shouldn't be having to buy materials back that were scrap here, in a sheet form. And then don't get me wrong, there are plenty of mills here that operate. It's just very, very difficult. We need hundreds, not tens, to support American manufacturing. So our infrastructure suffers a little bit. And when we have this huge ramp in production and onshoring, it puts a lot of demands on these mills. So, quality of material starts to go down. They'll detonate furnaces because they're running them too hot for too long, and then that'll put another spike, cost spike on the material, because there's less now furnaces making material. I mean, it's a vicious cycle. It's supply and demand of everything. The problem is with metal is that it's used in almost everything, some form or fashion of it. But for us as a business, though, we haven't really seen anything affect us in a negative way. It's kind of out of sight, out of mind. And at the end of the day, we really don't have control over it.
Yep.
One thing that we've always done, we never had to readjust our strategy, but we're always quoting in real time. So, for us, we're looking at raw material costs as they are today, and you're going to pay today's price. Tomorrow they could go up. Tomorrow they could go down. But today, this is what it is. Where a lot of these online companies, they're investing in stock. So they got to sell it at whatever the price was when they bought it, right? So our strategy is a little bit different. The process is slightly slower than like an online quote, but that's just because we're trying to cover everybody's ass and make sure that nobody's hit with that. We don't need it as a company, and that company understands what does it cost to manufacture this product right now.
Yeah.
It will change. Could go better, could be worse, but this is what it costs today. You should probably readjust your pricing, because that's something we noticed during COVID, where people were still ordering under the same thought of, I'm going to sell this product, then I'm going to order it, then I'm going to give it to my customer. Well, you sold it at 3 months ago price to your customer. By the time it got to us, the material cost ate up all of your profits. And in fact, it now costs you to make that product. and they weren't thinking ahead and understanding that it doesn't work like this anymore. So we saw a lot of companies disappear at that point because they just couldn't stay afloat. Their pricing structure and the way that they wanted to do things,
And the commitments they had already made buried them.
yeah, wouldn't work. Or just they were so reluctant to want to change their price. And it's like, everybody's having to.
Yeah.
We're having to, you're having to.
Mhm.
It's not we're just want you to pay more because that's what we want. This is how the world works.
We
right?
held on for a long time, though.
Yeah, we did.
We-
Yeah.
We didn't change much.
That to me, like, that seems like that would hurt the small to medium sized business the most, because these big giant corporations, they are running stuff in the futures market and shorting their
Yep.
projects if they need to like
100%.
hedge their bet. And small and medium sized businesses can't do that.
Yeah, they have huge mill commitments too. You know, they're just saying, listen, we're going to buy $100 million worth of material from your company this year. That's our commitment. We won't spend less. We'll probably spend more. And their priority, not only to get the material, but also to secure the pricing, because they know that's $100 million check sitting there,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, guys like us, it's a little bit different. And that's where, you know, we've just realized that we can't, I don't think even in our career in doing this, the environment, the market will ever normalize again. Because for a long time, like we wouldn't see increases in material only once a year. That was it. You could almost guarantee that material was that price today as it was 6 months ago. And it would fluctuate by pennies. Now it's fluctuating by dollars, tens of dollars sometimes.
Per pound.
Yeah, and it's not, I don't think we'll ever see it fluctuate. So for us, stabilize. It'll always fluctuate. So for us, I don't ever see us getting away from quoting in real time. It's the only way to protect our business, protect our margins, make sure that the customer knows, again, this is what it costs to manufacture today. May not be like that tomorrow. But that's something, a strategy that we implemented right from the get-go. So when things become unsure, they're not as unsure for us because of the way that we develop the business. We're always quoting in real time. But American manufacturing is thriving. I can tell you that. You know, the machine manufacturers, like our manufacturer, they're having record years of sales of equipment. You know, they'll basically make one of these machines every 12 hours, all day, every day, and it'll go out around the world, and they never stop. And they make hundreds of different types of machines. It's impressive to see the demand and the need for manufacturing, and the commitment to it is amazing. But yeah, it's an interesting world to be in. I never in a million years would have thought I'd be involved in manufacturing, let alone at the scale that we're doing it, which is still very, very small in comparison, but much larger than what most people are doing it at. That's considered to be a job shop. So, yeah.
I think American made means something.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know?
Oh, I couldn't agree more with that.
And I think if you put that on whatever you're selling, you can sell it for more. And I think gives you a little more confidence to stand behind it as well.
Oh, absolutely.
The other interesting thing that we've seen here over the last couple of months, where price used to always be a factor going back to like first time customers, we almost never see anybody say anything about price now. It's about, can you do it? And how quick can you do it? And can you do it correctly?
And what you deliver.
And so it's a really weird shift, because you would think that, and again, the media is happening, but it's so blown out of proportion into what the real guy sees, right? Like, yeah, we see it. We're watching mill reports. We have access to information that these news networks aren't, accessing or reporting on. So we're seeing what's happening in real time, but it's interesting just to see the way that the customers are responding to it, in that it's not where everything used to be price sensitive, not so much anymore. Which is weird because it's more expensive. There's other factors involved.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the strongest representation for where American manufacturing sits, because cost was always number one.
Yeah.
Cost then quality. And I think the quality has come up. The cost is definitely more expensive. But I think the mentality has shifted of, okay, we already know we're going to spend more.
Yeah.
But we can have it next week, and we're not waiting for a container that has unknowns, right?
Yeah, and I think ultimately it comes down to the American consumer just expects that now too, because
Yeah.
we see it too.
Yeah.
We've got customers, like our prices have gone up quite a bit in the last couple of years. You have a customer that, you know, people don't get their house tinted every month, right? You do a house for somebody and maybe they move or they want to get more stuff done 2, 3, 4 years later. I'll show up and I'll see what they spent 3 years ago. And I have to, you know, hey, I'm going to try to keep you close to where you were, but I'm just, I know everything's more expensive now and they're just like expecting it. So it's not even something I have to address as much as what I felt I needed to address a year ago.
Yeah.
Like every time I do bring it up, it's just like, yeah, I know everything's more expensive.
It's a good place to be in, you know, to not have to fight that fight all the time. Right.
Yeah.
And then it really come down to, you know, the quality of the product, the quality of the work, you know, the reputation, the warranty, right? Whatever you stand by, you know, or whatever your manufacturer stand by, it becomes the ultimate factor. And I think that's what again is what the biggest shift in American manufacturing, just the priorities have changed, which is great for companies like us
100%.
and like you guys, because you don't have to do the song and dance.
Yep.
Why are you more expensive? Why is this? No, we don't do any of that.
Do it.
Here's what we can do. We use the best products. This is how quickly we can do it. This is what we stand by.
Yep.
That's all that matters, right? At the end of the day. Because, you know, again, what are they going to do? Go down the street and get it for $50 cheaper? That's really going to make a big difference. You know, they're going to get what they pay for.
Yep.
So you just, you know, it's one of the things we never do. We never price match. We never go after that. We hold firm, right?
Yeah.
We know the value to what we bring. If you don't see that or you don't understand that, then maybe we're not the manufacturer for you. Right?
Yeah, it makes the qualification process a lot simpler.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you're looking for the cheapest, we're not it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I used to say that all the time with the big companies, you know, when they're like, oh, we need 600,000 of this part or whatever. I would call them right out the gate and say, you know, listen, what is it? Is it the cost? Is it the quality or is it the time? You get to pick two. And if cost is your number one, we're not the company for you.
Yep.
Now, if you're calling me for a reason, because some of these are not being met. And if it's cost, I'm not your guy. Let's not waste each other's time. No hard feelings. But if it's the quality or the guarantee, you got to pay more for that. Doesn't mean it's exponentially more expensive. We lost one time to 3 cents a part over 600,000 parts. You know, is insignificant over the job, but we were the only company that could guarantee it and guarantee the quality in that amount of time. All of their purchasers were on board. It went up the chain to whoever's going to write that check, and they go, nope, we pay this amount for this part. We don't pay any more. And they just crushed it. It's like, you know, and again, this was years ago, but you know, it's one of those factors that's I'm so thankful we rarely have to deal with now, but it's still a factor there, right? It's expensive, right?
We see a lot of people that come, you know, we'll tell them no, or, you know, if price is a factor, the quality, whatever, they'll leave. I'm dealing with that right now. I've got a customer that they came to us, said they wanted us to make their parts. They went somewhere else. We invested in another piece of technology because we knew that they were going to come back around. And we finished training. We just got involved in handheld laser welding. And we're like, well, we're still going to pull the trigger on this. And it wasn't $1 million, but we finished our training and the guy walks in the door like 20 minutes later. And we're just like
Ready?
let's go.
Let's go. Well, it's funny because
Are you ready? Because I'm ready.
You know, sometimes, well, in that particular case, this customer's big enough to support that operation.
Yeah.
And so we lost them right before we made the decision. And then we just sat down and discussed it. Again, like I was telling you, we just throw it around. Who else could we use it for? You know, and at the end of the day, we just, you know, we always tell each other, we're going to make it work. We're going to figure it out, right? Whatever it is, how expensive it is, we're going to make it work. And so we pulled the trigger on it. Yeah. And it took about a month and a half to get that operation up and running. We hadn't even heard from this customer. And literally the day we finished our training, he walks in and is like, I need your help. And we're like, well, it's a good thing we pulled the trigger on this because
Price went up.
Yeah. But sometimes it just works out too, you know, just the timing of things, again, believing in the route, the path you're taking, you know, and trusting each other to to say, hey, no matter what, even if we lost this customer, even if we don't have 10 more of them, we'll figure it out. We'll make it work. And I think even in our case, moving into some of that lower cost, higher impact, technology, it's taken a lot of pressure off of us. Yeah. I'm so thankful that we've gotten our company to a point where it's financially, stable to where we can take risks. And if it doesn't work out, it's a drop in the bucket. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, and we could walk away from it. And if it never turned on, we're okay. Yeah. Do we want to do that a lot? No, because it says a lot about our mental state and maybe some of the pride we were carrying at that time to force that technology before we were ready for it. But I don't know that we have that in us. We've always had that fight to just say, we're gonna make it work. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna promote the shit out of this thing. We're gonna push it. We're gonna find those customers that support it. Sure enough, it's always worked out that way, but not without a lot of effort. In this particular case, it happened to work out because that customer in itself supports that operation and just happened to come back at that time. But we may not have gotten that opportunity again if we didn't make that decision, right? So here's where it was like, it was very clear, then it was really unclear at the decision. We made it anyway, and then it turned out that it was the right call, and that's not always easy to do. It's a lot of pressure regardless of that expense. If it's $100,000, if you could walk out to your employees tomorrow and pass $100,000 around, change their life. Yeah. Right. If you guys lost $100,000, you'll be all right. You're going to be okay. Is it going to hurt? Yeah, it's going to hurt. It's going to sting a little bit. It's going to hurt the pride, but it's not life-changing to you. It's life-changing to them. Yeah. But now we can take something that maybe costs $100,000, turn it into $500,000 a year, and really start passing out that $100,000, right? Yeah. Change people's lives. And that's something that, we were talking about earlier is, just the growth and bringing people up. And that was one of the promises that we always made is, as we grow, you grow. Yep. Well, that's kind of it's a weird place to be in, because if you just spent $1.5 million or $2 million on a piece of equipment, yes, that's growth, but that's all the money. So how do you then pick people up and say, well, you see us growing, right? Don't wait a year until we get this thing up and running. You have to grow now with us, and trying to keep that retention of employees and that commitment to, what we stand for. And if we say we're going to do something, we're going to do it, right? As much as it hurts us. Yeah, we may not get a paycheck. There's no promise for that. But we also get to make the decisions. Right? Right. So it's, like I say, business, there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just figuring out what works best for you guys and how it goes. And it's a wild ride regardless.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think that's a good place to end it. I've actually got to take off. I've got another consultation to go on. So.
Yeah, no worries. Someone's got to pay for all this.
That's a perfect spot to end it. I really appreciate you guys coming.
Yeah, thanks guys.
I'm going to keep going for another
Where
hour.
can they find you? What social media handles?
Yeah, we're across all Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Precision Tube Laser Las Vegas. info@ptlmfg.com. You can check out our website, precisiontubelaser.com.
Which I highly recommend.
PTLMFG.com,
yeah.
all of it.
Yeah, any of it, all of it.
If you search Tube Laser or Las Vegas, you'll probably find us.
Yeah, it'll come up. Yeah, or you'll find something that you don't want to find. Hopefully Safe Search is on. Yeah. Well, thanks guys. We appreciate you guys having us.
This is great.
Thank you. I love talking business and learning, and we can't thank you enough.
No, we appreciate you coming on, and I will be talking with you guys. I know I talked a little bit about the fact of knowing that I have something that close to me, and the fact of working out. I keep getting bugged with the idea. Keeps getting brought up to me of designing my own technical handle and for flat glass for installation, and seeing your guys' operation, seeing like, all right, this is completely doable. Like, this is extremely doable. Yeah, I think I'm definitely going to explore that option. So.
That'd be cool. Well, we'd love to be a part of it. Looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Thanks guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.